Our DNA is what makes us unique, is what makes us us. But what if our things had DNA? These two wonderful young people from Switzerland are doing just that with their company, Native Digital. So let's talk to them and discuss more about what they're doing and how they're possibly giving each non living item its own DNA, its own identity in this complicated world of ours.
Unleash your potential with the Thought Bistro. Dive into business, financial, and tech insights that transform you into the best version of yourself. Hit subscribe and let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back. So we have Miguel and David here with us today, all the way from Switzerland. How about we just get started with some introductions? Why don't you guys take that for us?
First of all, thank you for having us here. It's a pleasure. I've seen your podcast and your latest videos, and it's really interesting, the topics that you talk about. I'm a student in Switzerland. I'm in my last year in high school. I've been in the Web3 space for the last 6 months now, knowing a lot of people, projects, and personally, I do some investments, some ecos, and yeah, that's pretty much of it.
So that was Miguel, and now we have David.
Yeah, I go to the same high school as Miguel, and we've been in this space for, I think, active for the last 6 months, just trading. We started at the beginning with NFTs. Because we entered the space and then we extended to cryptos. Now we are doing some ICOs, and now this company it's been running since, I think the idea came up last summer. The idea Native Digital.
So this is a space dominated by the youth, right? And we see continuously how younger people are making these different platforms. And yes, there has been some iffy discussion here and there, like Sam Bankman, who, it's a very famous fraud that's happening. So what do you feel about blockchain, and what do you think that, why is it being painted in a very negative manner?
Personally, I see blockchain as a very, very positive thing. I was thinking about that yesterday. We all know about AI, I think now. And AI gives us a great problem, the problem of copyright. For example, how can I know if if a song that I hear comes from an AI or from Kanye West, for example? How do I know that? And that's another application of the blockchain. I can validate, authenticate the voice of an artist, a song. So blockchain has a great variety of positive things. And personally, I don't know, maybe people see blockchain as a bad thing because of the speculation and this type of stuff. But yeah, it's a positive thing for me.
Yeah, personally, what I think about blockchain is that like every new technology that has come, for example, it reminds me of the 2000s .com bubble, right? The internet, everything new, a lot of new companies bringing up any sort of ideas, try to applicate the internet, giving services that mostly were not really usable, let's say. And yeah, there was a bubble, there was a crash, but eventually now we have Google, now we have Microsoft, Amazon. So that's the thing, right? In the 2000s, when you were talking with people and you said, look, there's this thing, the internet, the World Wide Web, they told you, yeah, but it's a bit kind of a fantasy, right? And now in 2023, it's the reality, and that's the way I see blockchain. A lot of new projects, but mostly of them, maybe they are existing because of the new technology, not because they are really useful. That's why also more than 90% of ecos don't go through. But there are really nice projects like Native Digital, actually, that brings something useful, something real, and something that's a game changer in an industry, and you can apply in a variety of cases. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Before we get very deep into this, let's discuss what blockchain is, right? So for our viewers, can you put it in like very simple terms? Let's say you were explaining to a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, defining blockchain to them. So how would each of you do it?
Blockchain, it's like an open book where you can register any sort of transactions from one place to another. Those transactions are validated by more transactions that are built into them. A sort of an open book, maybe, where you can see everything and everything is linked.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's basically one of the basic foundations of Bitcoin, at least where you have the ledgers that are, that people are looking for, and they're looking for the next block to find. And the way they validate is they find the list following the block. So I think it's a book that you're reading, and as you go on, if things make sense, you're on the right track. If words start getting jumbled up and you're eating gibberish at the end of it, you're on the wrong track. And that's a bunch of people who are validating you.
Davide, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think of blockchain kind of the same way. For a 5-year-old, I would say that is a very secure place where people can exchange stuff, because now with NFTs we can exchange between parties something else than currencies. So yeah, a secure place where people can exchange stuff. That is the decentralized. Yeah.
I follow this one channel on YouTube which tries to flip stuff. So, he'll go to eBay, he'll try to find balls that have been signed by Kobe Bryant, or he'll try to find something like a t-shirt that's been signed by somebody. And I always thought that's the best case scenario to use blockchain, because you talk about security and you talk about how it is verifiable. So I came across this one example. I don't know how valid it is, but they're like, let's say a class has homework. And then this one child in the class is very good at the homework. So everybody starts copying from the child. And then everybody starts copying from each other, that particular single homework. And let's say there are 25 people in the class. If anybody has different homework in the class, even though everybody is copied from the same source, then that one homework gets flagged. And then it stands out. There's a red flag, right? So I think that's the similarity of blockchain to this concept. Am I on the right terms here?
Yeah. I think that's a good explanation.
So it's about connecting the digital to the physical, and that's what your company has been doing. So do you want to talk about your venture?
We came out with the idea of native digital initially because I was just introduced to the watches world by Miguel, and we were thinking about how can I know a very expensive watch is real or not, because we see there are a lot of fakes that are very, very similar to the real pieces. So how can a normal person recognize true piece from a false piece? So we came out with the idea to check. We think, but it's very, very secure. The blockchain is very secure because at the time we were just starting with NFTs, trading stuff, and we think about that, and we came up with this idea. The main concept is this concept of smart dust. Smart dust is just a group of chips, very small chips, like 1 millimeter square, that can be placed on objects or in objects to validate them. And how we validate them? How we create an hash code that describes that NFT. For example, we take the energy print from each chip and their location. And from that information, we create an hash code that is connected to that NFT. So, for example, we take a shoe. We can place chips inside the plastic, for example, and then create this hash. And it's very secure. And you can't fake it.
You can simulate it.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
The random distribution pattern of those transponders.
Yeah.
And what they do is reflect the signal. So, precisely, maybe put one transponder, it's pointing a little different. It's another thing.
Yeah.
But this has also good applications. Those transponders that, by the way, Davide's father developed, he didn't develop those transponders for this project. Actually, that's quite funny because he was working in a completely other industry with those transponders that are, by the way, the smallest in the world. But you want to explain, David, which industry was working your father on?
Yeah, he has this other company. The goal of this company was to take chips and put them inside of straws, very little straws that can go, for example, in cryogenesis, because these straws contain organic material that needs to be conserved. So this was the main use of the chips, and now we're using them for this. So what are the application of this company? We can think about fashion, art, everything that we want to validate, to validate the authenticity. Electronic DNA to make it unique, so we can place it in bags, watches, in packages. Yeah, and this idea gives a new vision of the objects and makes it into a subject, because now objects have DNA. You can call this arch that we create a DNA, because it describes the object, because every object has a different DNA.
So you're taking NFTs from the digital world and saying that, how each image is different because each image comes with its own set of verification methods. And now you're adding these verification methods to the physical world. So you're trying to hide this dust, this DNA dust that you're calling, and you're trying to hide it in the logo of different things, or you're trying to hide it in different areas within a physical object. And that way it is verifiable that yes, this was produced in this factory at this time and is owned by this particular company.
Yeah.
And it can't be duplicated.
Yeah, it can't.
And be duplicated.
Yeah,
That's the thing, because it's a random pattern.
Yeah, it's great, because the state of the art right now is NFC labels. So just one big chip that can be cloned, and it's not secure. It's fragile too. The chips that we use can go to 3000 degrees and minus 200 degrees. So, for example, in washing, an NFC chip can't handle multiple washings, for example.
So NFC for our viewers is near field communication, and it literally means that if you are close to an object, you can get some information out of it. So our phones use NFC to make payments, and that is one of the major uses of NFC. Other than that, there are NFC tags which hold certain information which you can tap your phone on and you can get information out of that.
NFC is basically the technology behind Apple Pay.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, so this technology looks very fascinating, right? Because you're trying to replace NFC with certain transponders, as you call them. And they're really small and they're really resilient, and they can protect the resale value of a lot of goods, especially designer goods or art-based goods or, intellectual property-based goods.
Even if you want to go to an extreme, you could maybe create a system where your inventory of your factory is signed by those smart labels, and then you have a 100% secure list of your items and just to organize, for example, right? Any sort of application. And the thing that this was created for another industry brings us to the fact that has really good capabilities for industrial applications. So you can actually melt it in the shoe, you can attach it with a label, you can do whatever you want. That's the thing. And the other thing that's really interesting, you can lose 30% of the chips and still have the recognition of the hash. So that's pretty good, actually. It's very durable in the time. I was thinking about, for example, museums, all the art in the museums right now to validate, it's quite difficult. So a museum contacts you with, 10,000 pieces of art. You attach on the piece to every piece this label. That's it, authenticated forever.
I didn't mention the label. We are developing to this label too. It's just, you can imagine it as a sticker where behind this sticker there are all this dust and the position and all this stuff is in this label. So you can take existing pieces and attach this label to them. So it doesn't require that you create the art and place the chips in the canvas or in the paint. You can just stick this label.
So have you been able to implement it in some physical goods already? Or do you guys have like clients, or do you have some companies that are using your technology currently?
Right now, we're talking with some major brands, fashion brands, and with some galleries and individual artists, collectors to apply this method.
It has already been applied with some pieces of art, and because that's another application. For example, you can put this smart dust in the paint and then paint anything, and you have it in the paint. So that's quite nice.
How much does something like this cost? If say a museum wanted it for 1,000 pieces, what would be the estimate that you would provide them, or how are you guys pricing these?
Depends on the gallery and the client. So now we are providing just single stuff for single artists, but for galleries too. Our model is a subscription model, and we can add the stuff, chips, additional chips to the main subscription too.
I think everything depends on scale, right? So as the technology gets more and more implemented, it will become cheaper. When you're talking about tags that you're willing to put them into tags of specific clothing items or tags of specific bags, then suddenly, you have to really, really cut down on the cost and you have to be competitive with regular tags. So I think that'll get there. It's very early for the technology. What if we discuss some technical aspects of it? Would you like to take a deeper dive into how it works on a technical scale? So what kind of blockchain are you using, or what kind of specific structures you're using, and how they work, and why it works so well? Why is it so solid?
Right now, we are working with the Ethereum chain and the Polygon chain. These blockchains are great for this stuff because they're very secure. And yeah, we're not on the way of a private blockchain, because I think that loses the point of the blockchain. So it doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Right now, we're using these blockchains.
You talk about private blockchains and decentralized blockchains. So what is the real difference, and what does that really mean for our viewers?
If you all the power on the blockchain, you can see all the things on the blockchain. The blockchain isn't really a decentralized, because one party can control it all. So, for example, the Bitcoin blockchain is decentralized because there is no party that is charged to organize it. It is decentralized. It is free.
So I was reading the other day that there was the stat that came out that all the crypto mining that takes place around the world uses more electricity than the country of Egypt. So Ethereum implemented something, right? I think this was last year, September or something like that. They made a switch to a platform which reduces their electricity usage by, I think, some 97 or 98%. Can you tell us some more about that?
Actually, Ethereum has a really good change on their blockchain. They have changed from proof of work to proof of stake. Those are the two principal validations on a blockchain, I will say. Bitcoin, for example, as everybody knows, the first crypto, so the first blockchain, is a proof of work blockchain. In a proof of work blockchain, you have miners, people who is validating every transaction with computer operations. So they are calculating algorithms so they can validate the transactions. That's why it costs a lot of energy and a lot of electricity. And now Ethereum, with the proof of stake, to validate the transactions, you use the coin itself, Ethereum itself, you stake. And so all the part of mining, that's not the main point anymore. So in terms of energy, I think that's really better.
Just going short, I think proof of work is not effective for power and electricity usage, but I think that proof of stake gives us another problem, that proof of stake, I think, is less decentralized than proof of work, because, there are a lot of ways, big players that have lots and lots of Ethereum, and proof of stakes gives more power. I think that makes the blockchain less decentralized.
Yeah, that's the main risk, to have only few pools controlling all the validations of the market. That's the risk, but it's a thing that at the moment I think it's not happening. But yeah, maybe it will be a problem we'll have to face in the future.
I think it boils down to choosing the lesser evil, because on one end, you're spending a bunch of money on electricity, you're ruining the environment and things like that. And on the other end, you have an eventuality that may be possible someday in the future. So I guess until you get to that eventuality, which goes against the whole concept of decentralization, it's something that you can digest, that you have a proof of stake instead of a proof of work.
I also think that centralization to some extent is very important. Because let's say we are implementing blockchain in a company, and then let's say you guys are the CEOs and the CTOs of the company. Now you guys would like to have the complete vision of the whole chain itself. So then your vote becomes more important than other node votes. So blockchain works on different nodes. Each node is equivalent in a decentralized system, but you might want a node that is more powerful than the others in a centralized system, right? Similarly, when you talk about, let's say we are going to do decentralized currency throughout a country, the government would like more oversight over that currency because currency can be used in many malicious ways as well. So, to protect the people of the country, some centralization might be important. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's true as well what you're saying, but now we are facing a new challenge, a new problem with centralization. The power of blockchain, but even not blockchain, the power of the digital currencies are bringing us to these new laws that they are trying to pass in the United States, in Japan, for example, for in Europe, for the new Federal Reserve dollar, digital dollar. And there you can see the opposite of a blockchain, right? Fully centralized digital asset that's 100% in control of the Federal Reserve. And what happens if you are really centralized, Federal Reserve doesn't like you, I shut down your bank account. You don't have nothing, you own nothing, right? So that's the extreme of centralizing. The other extreme of decentralizing is that you have control over nothing. So you will have to find maybe a way that's not taking freedom of people, but actually helping to the system to go through the right way.
I think that's a very nice way to think about it because balance becomes the key word in most situations. And there's supposed to be a balance between power and between, malintent here.
Yeah, I think it's just going back to that whole concept which we've spoken about in quite a few episodes. It's not black, it's not white, it's always gray. You have to find out which shade of gray you want, but at the end of the day, it is all gray. And that is, I guess, the eventuality with this centralized, decentralized debate. I guess what we spoke about with the way proof of work happens, I guess we have to find some midpoint where one person's node does have more importance, but that more importance can also be overthrown by, 3 or 4 nodes of the other importance getting together and being like, hey, something's going wrong. Otherwise, we can always be like the United States and be like, okay, yeah, I don't like you, I'm going to impose sanctions on you, I'm going to freeze your assets, etc., etc. So there is always that side of the thing.
So talking about the United States, what do you think about Switzerland's environment on crypto or on blockchain, or like, are there other applications that are happening in the country as we speak other than your own company?
Well, actually, we are based in Lugano. Lugano, it's a city in Switzerland, really close to Milan. 1 hour in car. It's in the Italian part, Switzerland. A little of geography from Switzerland. It's divided in 3 main regions. So there's the German one, more or less 70%. Then there's the French one, 20%. And then there's the Italian one, more or less 10%. Yeah, we are based here in Lugano. And the city has done a project, a huge project, which is called Plan B. They played with the B, Bitcoin. You can see the thing that they were doing. And they had a lot of events about cryptocurrencies and application galleries of NFTs, but they tried to be the next city in Europe, riding the wave of cryptocurrencies, but it didn't go as well as planned. Actually, it wasn't great because also of the crash of the markets, right? But that's something that they were not planning, but it's something that happened.
And are you guys facing any sort of backlash with the whole Credit Suisse issue and all, or is that not something that's affecting you guys yet?
Yet we are not really affected, but I think that if stuff doesn't go as planned, so if we can't succeed in merging these 2 banks, a lot of people are gonna be affected by this.
Well, I will say you can start seeing some things. For example, now, since the Credit Suisse, since this happened, banks are really, really aware of everything. Now, if you want to open a bank account for a society, for a company, it's 10 times more difficult. So they are really aware of the situation, and they are seeing if they have eventual plans for a recession or for a crisis of any sort. There's one main bank, which is Post Finance in Switzerland, that They are being criticized because they don't have a real plan in case of this happen, and they are now starting to move and to face everything. So actually here in Switzerland, people is really serious about this. They are really serious about the currency and about their reputation. So they are the first that are really aware of everything.
How has this whole crypto sort of crash that has happened, or the Lehman moment for cryptocurrency, as it was called last year, with all the stuff that's happened surrounding cryptocurrency, has that affected the attitude when you go to people and you have something that is NFT related, like your product is all to do with the blockchain, to do with NFTs, but it doesn't really have that much to do with like cryptocurrency in general? But what is the attitude of people when you approach them?
Yeah, so right now everyone is very skeptical on everything that is only crypto. We are lucky because our product or stuff isn't only crypto, is just a link to validate the product. But startups and all this kind of stuff that's only on the web, only on blockchain, NFTs, this stuff, it's has a lot of credibility. A lot. We can see this stuff even if you go talk to your friends. If we talk to them about crypto and this stuff, maybe people will treat you like a clown because there is a pullback of 90% of Bitcoin and 99% of people are losing money right now.
I think it's very, very important to separate the two. It's very important to separate blockchain from cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is an application of blockchain rather than it being blockchain itself. And the uses of blockchain for verification is being used in payment in the form of cryptocurrency. And it is being used in terms of knowing that product is authentic in terms of your company. And there are like numerous other things that are happening in the blockchain market, right? So hopefully this episode allows us to paint a better picture of blockchain in the minds of people, and to help them understand a little bit more on what exactly the technology is, how it works, and you have implemented it in such a nice manner, connecting the physical and the digital world together. I think that's where the gold is, and I think that's where the future lies as well.
100%, man. Usually you hear about people taking their physical stuff and moving it online, making it digital. For example, NFTs and all the things surrounding that. Here, you guys have gone the other way and made what was earlier digital. Now you're trying to make that physical, and that's so cool. Honestly, I hope you guys do really well, and your whole concept of verification sounds superb. So looking forward to hearing a lot more about you guys and your company. Not from you guys, of course, from everywhere else.
We both wish you all the best for all of your ventures in the future. You guys are very, very young people just starting out in this world, and just starting out in the world of blockchain, which by itself is very young. So you guys will evolve together, and hopefully we get to speak again on newer applications and better applications of whatever you're doing. And we are huge football fans, so maybe you can put this technology into Manchester United jerseys and then send us free jerseys for life.
If it happens,
For sure.
we will.
We're going to hold you to that. We don't joke when it comes to United.
We will. If it turns into a unicorn, and then every item in the world will be authenticated by this, 100%. Our friends of the Thought Bistro podcast.
Thanks for joining us. We hope to continue to bring you some interesting news from around the world and keep you informed and keep you entertained, and hope to see you again next time. Thank you.